Hey, welcome to the Silent Apocalypse. You know what apocalypse means? It doesn't mean the end of the world. It means kind of like a great unveiling. You know, the secrets, the dirty linen, dirty knickers, dirty underwear, whatever, right? All of that stuff's exposed for everybody to see. And I think if you went to the cinema and the film you were going to see was called The Apocalypse 2026, personally, I would expect that to be horrifying, but I would expect to see kind of action, vengeance, revolution, that kind of thing. If the apocalypse was unveiling horrible secrets of crimes committed by people in power. I don't think I'd be very impressed if I went to the cinema to watch the apocalypse and what I saw was people being informed of the apocalypse and then switching on Strictly Come Dancing and going to bed early so they can get into work the following day. That's where I'm going, by the way. So the question is, why do we have this silent apocalypse? Why is that happening? Well, I think there's two things. Actually, it's probably more. I always say there's two things. So look, number one, let's be really clear. Anyone thinks that you're seeing everything, that they're telling us everything, well, then you're about as stupid as the person who votes. So this stuff's been released. I'm not even sure that I would believe all of it, purely because they've released it. But certainly for sure, they will have held back stuff. And look, Epstein Island, I don't know whether there's some misconception that that's where everything has happened. It's just one example. This has happened throughout history, and it is certainly not just happening now or recent history in Epstein Island. I can tell you now it's happening right now, today, somewhere else, in numerous locations. And it will be far, far worse. And there'll be far more variety to it than they are releasing, or they have released, to the public at the moment. But regardless, they've released enough. They've released enough for you to reasonably expect that people might be pissed off, disgusted, marching in the streets. There would be civil unrest, that kind of thing, because of the emotions involved, the emotions it evokes. So are you surprised? I'll tell you now, I'm not. And the reason I'm not surprised is because I saw the same thing during COVID. I felt like I was the only person, not the only person, but it felt that way, who was outraged, who was almost perpetually angry, who was always in confrontation, daily, whether it was online or in person, when I was being challenged about not wearing a mask, not standing 6 foot apart, not using antibacterial wash to try and kill a virus. All of that kind of nonsense. I was in confrontation, and I do not like confrontation. Not because I'm a coward, I just prefer other ways of discourse without it becoming confrontational, because confrontation really involves a lot of emotion. Once emotion's involved, yes, there's passion, but it tends to override cognitive reasoning, and so you end up with a lower quality output. Emotion's a good thing, yeah, but not when it's the overriding, or when it overrides your ability to think rationally. Regardless, there's no emotion going on here, is there? out there on this road, all these people in their cars going to work like me, none of those people will be even thinking about those Epstein files. I'm not sure what's on the television about it because I don't watch TV. But probably like you, I've known about it for a very, very, very long time, and not just Epstein. It's much broader than that. So why is there no reaction? Why are people not demanding executions or prison time, summary trials? I'll tell you why, and it's nothing to do with desensitisation. So people are giving the public the excuse that they've been desensitised because of all the horrors they've seen in places like Gaza. Well, they haven't seen those, because I can guarantee you that whenever the tip of the iceberg, the tiny proportion of what the horrors of Gaza was shown on television, they won't have looked. They'll have turned away. They would have started a conversation with the person next to them, and then they would have resumed watching television as soon as that part finished. So no, it's not desensitisation. Don't give them that one. No, it's not that. It's apathy, indifference, and cowardice. I saw all three of those during COVID. Why? Well, I'm not sure entirely why, but what I can say is we've seen this before. Not with my own pair of eyes right now. Perhaps in a previous life I would have seen it. I do believe in reincarnation, by the way. But certainly if you were alive during the end of the Roman Empire, for example, or the end of any empire, you would have seen the proliferation of consumption of all forms, perversion, depravity, the erosion of any kind of moral framework, or perhaps you would say flexible morals to suit the situation. In other words, no morals at all. And certainly in this society, what I noticed a long, long time ago, I'm talking way more than 10 years ago, and I'm not religious, by the way. I do believe, I believe there is a higher power. I believe that, not in a new agey way, but I do believe that we're far more capable than we've been taught. Like the Rudolf Steiner. I guess I like the Rudolf Steiner philosophy. I noticed many, many years ago where the money was going. Money was going to the places that make money. So churches become dilapidated, housing conditions the same, people are living in poverty, people aren't living in any poverty at all because they're living on the streets. Meanwhile, if you go to the centres of finance, what you see is some actually very interesting architecture, some real passion gone into the creation of those cities. I'm thinking of the City of London as an example, those buildings. So that's the new god for most people, money. And why would you be surprised when you have a capitalist economic system that is not underpinned by any moral values at all? Why would you be surprised then that you end up in a very simple situation where if it makes money, then it's okay. Go ahead, do it. Makes money, do it. If it doesn't make money, what the fuck are you doing? Stop it. So, of course, a lot of good things you can do, they don't make much money. So you shouldn't be wasting your time on that. If you're an artist, if you're creative, well, you don't get paid much for any of that anymore. So what the fuck are you doing that for? If you're a kid at school and you're staring out of the window, you're probably exercising your imagination, you're daydreaming. That's a good thing. as far as I'm concerned, you get told off and told to concentrate so that you can fully absorb the bullshit you're being taught and never ever think outside the parameters that bullshit was written within. Do you understand my point? So the reason we have a silent apocalypse, a silent unveiling of horrors and secrets, is because most of the population are neutered. They're devoid of humanity and compassion. They're cowards. They're lazy and apathetic. And their only real... If they're predators, their prey is leisure and pleasure.